Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to the Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 77, Thanks and Giving. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald, known to many as the Magnetic Voice Mentor, and I am here with the beautiful Shannon Kropf. Hey, Shannon.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Monique. We were just having the best laugh about the most music nerdy things I've talked about in quite a while. So if we're a little giggly, you guys, just know the music nerdery is afoot.
Is afoot. Yes, and we're so happy to be with you today on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And my lovely neighbor is practicing his piano. So if you hear anybody tinkling some keys in the background, welcome to living in New York City.
That's right. Enjoy. There's always a free show.
I do love it. This my building is filled with musicians. I have a flautist across the courtyard. It's really like being back at Juilliard in all the practice rooms.
That's great. Yeah.
I suppose for some people it might bother them, but we're pretty used to it.
Yeah. When I was in college, they had this great. It was really new, fairly new at the time, and it's, of course, been several years since then. But anyway, they built a great Dave, what am I trying to say? There was 2 hallways that were practice rooms, and then in between them was like a courtyard. But there was probably, 20 rooms on each hall? So you would walk upstairs to the practice rooms, and there's like this cacophony of 60 or 80 musicians from tuba to piccolo, piano, drums, everything in between. And the main thing I learned from that time is just tune it out. So,
tune it out.
So somebody could be, Dave used to give drum lessons when we were much younger, and I was working at American Express. I had an overnight shift, and I would come home and sleep through his drum lessons because it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it does. Now it's kind of hard for me to sleep when it's really silent. If I'm out in the woods,
I bet
somewhere. It's funny how we get used to things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about thanks and giving. We of course put those 2 words together to celebrate the holiday, as we did.
Of course.
But I started to think about that and separating the 2 words and this whole idea of giving thanks. And traditionally, this holiday, we know the story of the Puritans and the Native Americans, sure. And that's sort of the story we grew up with. But the idea of Thanksgiving for harvest is as old as time, right?
Oh,
the
yeah,
ancient
absolutely.
Greeks and Egyptians and Romans, they've been doing this long before the Puritans showed up, right?
We didn't come up with this,
And this whole idea of just celebrating the harvest. I'm looking around my apartment and I'm looking at all of the things that I'm so grateful for. And, we have been trained as good American children that if somebody gives us something, we say thank you.
Yes.
And then I started to consider this, and I started to think about what would happen if we said thank you as we were giving something.
Interesting.
Right? Like a totally different idea around this. Having gratitude because you get to give. Thank you for being able to give. It really started me thinking about this because so often this whole thank you and being gifted something or given something, it feels like an exchange, right? So I get something and then I give thanks. I receive something and then feel gratitude and then give gratitude back. And I mean, it was so ingrained in me as a child. Monique, say thank you. You didn't say thank you. Thank you. Say thank you. You know, we don't even think about it anymore.
Sure, absolutely. It's just the code word you say after receiving something.
Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Oh my God. I'm sorry is ubiquitous.
Say more about that.
I was teaching years and years ago. This has got to have been 25, maybe 30 years ago, maybe not that long. Anyway, I was pretty young. And I was teaching a drama workshop at a Vineyard Women's Conference up in Maryland. And it was my first time teaching, and it was the first time that I discovered that I was actually really kind of good at teaching and that it might be something to look into. And apparently, without my knowing it at all, I kept saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like every time I needed to turn a page, I'm sorry. On the one hand, it's so meaningless now that it's, you may as well say, it's a filler word.
Right.
But at the same time, it's this, there's a sense to it of I am somehow less than, or it's not like I am totally rational and level and cool, and I apologize for this one thing. It's like, no, I am in a state of sorriness.
Yeah. And you and I both know the power of I am.
Mm-hmm.
And then to end that with sorry and to have it become so unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision quite some time ago that I would retrain myself to say, I apologize for blubbity, 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 blah, rather than I'm sorry. But I had to make a conscious decision about that, right?
Absolutely.
So when I was thinking about thanks and giving, I just started to go down this path of, this national holiday that everybody celebrates, and it's sort of this imposed kind of, you must be grateful.
Yes.
And, we had our own traditions, I'm sure, during Thanksgiving, and I'm sure you had yours, and our listeners had theirs, and one of the things that we did was sit around the table and talk about what are we grateful for.
Sure.
And I remember my aunt just confessed to me that she would be like taking notes of what everybody said and to make sure that she was that she said something different, and the pressure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The pressure.
It's like, why do I feel like I'm giving an award speech?
Exactly.
Like,
and the competition of
yes, I can't repeat.
Exactly. And it's so funny how these traditions turn into these unconscious ways of beating ourselves up, of, going into unconscious thank you. Unconscious thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Do I mean it? Doesn't matter. You say thank you.
Right. Even if you are not thankful, you say thank you because it's the polite thing to say.
That's right. And so then I started thinking about, well, what if I switched it up and I started saying thank you when I was giving things? Don't have to say it out loud, but to say it within myself and maybe even say it out loud. I'm sure it would be very confusing to people, but thank you as you're giving.
Yeah.
Because just to practice that for a little while, it will certainly make it conscious, A.
Right.
And for me, the idea of Thanksgiving and giving thanks is about abundance. And so to be thankful as I'm giving,
right,
feels like a real declaration of abundance.
Absolutely. I was just thinking yesterday, I think, when we were back in Memphis and we spent lots and lots and lots of time with college kids who were in our discipleship groups or mentor groups or whatever. We were always very generous with them in terms of time and cooking for them and, listening to them. And I missed that. Let's see if I can find a way to articulate this random thought that I had. Since COVID, our circle has shrunk a little. I think we've all had some of that circle shrinkage going on.
For sure.
Excuse me. And, we don't have as many people around as consistently as we once did. And certainly not in an environment where we're hanging out with college kids, it's just not our life stage that we're at. And so I was thinking how much I used to enjoy being abundantly giving and how much I miss it now. And so therefore, how grateful I was to have been in that situation. And my end thought that I got to in this process was, okay, well, if that's the case, and if I'm feeling stifled now because we're not giving, and I don't mean monetarily, I just mean giving of yourself.
Sure.
How do I start giving again?
Yes. I love that. And just living in the question, right? You don't even need to come up with the answers. Just
right.
Living in the question and then life and the divine will lead you to what that is. That's why a lot of people in my circle, they go to soup kitchens on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's something that they get up really early in the morning and they go to soup kitchens. And it also reminds me of one of my favorite symbols of Thanksgiving, which is the cornucopia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's one of the only times we see that symbol
Yes.
is during that time.
Yes.
And it's all about overflowing with bounty, right?
Right.
And it usually has
Yes.
fresh fruits and root vegetables and pumpkins and gourds and but the idea, grapes, whatever, corn, nuts, whatever it is. But the idea here is that it's overflowing with bounty,
Right.
and it's
Right.
open and spilling out into the world. And so thanks to be able to give. And then my final thought around thanks and giving is one of my favorite stories. And growing up, we used to tell this joke about a West Indian minister who was preaching one day, and he gets to the climax of his sermon and he says, "And Jonah swallowed the whale." And someone from the congregation says, "But Pastor, Jonah didn't swallow the whale." And the pastor pounds on the podium and he says, "Yes, and Jonah swallowed the whale." And the congregant says, "No, but Pastor, the whale swallowed Jonah." And the pastor says, "Well, I don't know, some swallowing went on." But I grew up on these Bible stories, and Jonah, the story of Jonah was one of my favorite stories. And my favorite part of the story is that he thought he was a goner. He was in the whale's stomach, and he thought it was all done. And of course, he had been disobedient. And even though he knew that he probably would die, he was in his darkest moment. He raised his voice in thanksgiving. And there was something about that moment of thanksgiving in the face of darkness when all is lost. It wasn't a plea for help.
Right. Right.
It wasn't a prayer to be saved. Jonah raised his voice in thanksgiving. And I used to think, wow, what a loud voice. His voice was so loud, it gave the whale indigestion and he threw him up. What a loud
Makes
voice.
sense. Right.
So, yeah, thanks and giving.
Yeah. It's good.
We are so lucky to raise our voices in thanksgiving, no matter what's happening. Every day, everyone around us need to be appreciated, need to be given random acts of gratitude, right?
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for the way that you enhance my life, especially the ones that don't. That's hard. That's hard.
It is. Yeah.
And yet, those are the times when I remember I read a story about Zig Ziglar this woman talked about, how mean everybody was at work and everybody was so mean. Have you heard this story? It's so funny. And Zig Ziglar, this, very famous businessman and mentor, she's like, I just want to quit my job. I don't want to go to work anymore because everyone is so mean to me. And so he gave her an assignment and he said,
okay,
I'm going to invite you to go back to work and find one thing that you're grateful for everybody at the workplace and tell them. And so she comes back a week later and Zig Ziglar says, so how's it going? How'd it go? And she said, well, I don't know. I don't know how it went, but I'll tell you what, their attitudes sure did improve.
Right. That's exactly what happened.
Right? And it just goes to show we rarely take into account how gratitude changes us.
Right.
So, thanks and giving. I'm very grateful for you in my life, Shannon.
And you, Monique.
And I'm grateful for you too, Dave, our darling producer.
He's waving, everybody. Hello.
All right, let's take that into meditation, shall we?
Sounds great, yeah.
So, as we take a deep centering breath, calling to mind all of the things that we are grateful for today. And as we breathe, let's give thanks for our breath. Let's notice the gift of breath. How we inhale and exhale. We receive the air and we give the air. It's something that is so innate. It's what helps us know that we are alive. And although we think of it as two actions, inhalation and exhalation, we realize that those two things are part of a greater whole. The inhale is part of the exhale, and the exhale is part of the inhale. As you inhale, we know that is bringing us right to the exhale. So as we consider today, thanks and giving, the thanks is receiving, and the giving is the receiving, and the giving is the receiving, and the thanks, and it all just becomes one big, beautiful expression of that cornucopia of abundance, that overflow of life. We get to give, and we are grateful. We get to receive, and we are grateful. We are the divine expression of God on earth. So that means we are part of God and God is part of us. We are the divine masterpiece of the Creator. So every time we give through creating, we are receiving. Every time we raise our voice in thanksgiving to the divine, to the universe, to say thank you for all that is, we are receiving that as well. So today, I celebrate thanks and giving. I celebrate you. I celebrate me. And I celebrate that we are part of the divine whole of the entire universe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so it is.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.